Hello everyone, my name is Shambhavi. Hope you all are doing well. So now from today we are going to start the topic of OOPS, that is object oriented programming in Python programming language, right? So that basically consists of classes and then objects and with followed by the inheritance topics, right? So these are all the I just give you an overview that these are the main topics which we are going to study. Now inside that there are many more subtopics which we will be covering, right? So before diving quickly into the code, I would just let you know about some definitions, some theoretical things that basically what is this OOPS concept? Why we just use this why we just use this concept for the classes and objects, right? Now this is the very main important part of the Python programming language. Till now we were studying the part that was in Python programming language. Yes, that is important, but this is the part which is the most important part in Python programming. And basically, this is the part from which the questions, most of the questions in the interviews come. Right. So just please pay attention towards this part from now. Let's start with the things for now. So here it is written that Python is a multi-paradigm programming language. It supports different programming approaches. Yeah, that is right. Okay. Now, next, one of the popular approaches to solve a programming problem is by creating objects. This is known as object-oriented programming, right? So I just told you that we are going to learn about object-oriented programming. So if someone asks that basically what do you mean by object-oriented programming? So you can just tell that one of the popular approaches to solve a programming problem is by creating objects. So that procedure is called as the object oriented programming, right? Now, what is an object? An object has two characters. Okay. Let's say we just take an example. Let's take an example as a table. Table is an object, right? That is made up of wood, right? That has four legs in them, basically in them. Now, what is the color of that table? What is the size of that table, right? And of basically which wood like that table has been. What are all of these? These all are the attributes of that object, right? Now, what is the behavior of that table? Behavior in the sense that basically what is that table used for? So let's say you are using that table for studying. Let's say you are using that table for keeping some uh, objects of your house. Let's say you are just using that table to keep some plants and all that thing. So that is the behavior that basically what is that table used for. So an object always has two characteristics. This was a real life example. Let's take one more example here. Now, do not differ it from the real life and from the object oriented programming. Both the concepts are absolutely same. Here I am giving you some real life examples so that you can just have a proper idea that basically what an object is in object oriented programming. Okay, so here you are just able to see one word and that is object, right? Now we are just discussing about that term, that is object. What this actually means. So here it is written an object has two characteristic attributes and behavior. I just mentioned that let's say we take a table. So that table is of which color? What is the size of that table, basically from which kind of wood is that made. So all these are the attributes and behavior that basically what is that table used for. You are using that table for studying or you are using that table for keeping some household things and all that thing. So that is the behavior of that object. Let's take an example for an animal. Let's here I am having an example that is a rabbit. A rabbit is an object, right? Everything is an object, correct? So what is the following properties that have? So name of that rabbit, okay. What is the age of that rabbit? We also have. Now what is the color of that rabbit? That is also fine, right? So what are all these things? These all are the attributes of that object, right? Name, age, color, these are the attributes for the object and that object is rabbit. Now what is the behavior of that basically that object? That basically running is the behavior, dancing is the behavior, or these are the behaviors of that object, right? Because a rabbit can run also and basically it runs, right? So these are the behavior of the object. So this is basically what is known as an object in oriented programming, fine. So in object oriented programming, the object has two characteristics, attributes and behavior, right? Now let's see. So we have just seen an example. So the concept of OOPS in Python focus on creating reusable code. Okay. Now, what is the main function of this OOPS in Python? So, the concept of OOPS in Python focuses on creating reusable code that you can just reuse, like use another time also. That is called the reusable, right? This concept is also known as DRY, do not repeat yourself. So, there is another name for this concept, and that is DRY, that is do not repeat yourself. Right, I hope you just got the idea that what is actually object oriented programming. Let's move towards the very first topic for this object-oriented programming, and that is a class. Now, what it is a class? A class is a blueprint for the object. Okay. Now, just understand that whatever I have just written here right now, we can think of a class as a sketch of a rabbit with labels. It contains all the details about the name, color, size, etc. Based on these descriptions, we can study about the rabbit, right? So these are the things which you can just follow here. Fine. So what is a class actually? A class is called the blueprint of the object, right? So we can just think of a class that, let's say we had just taken here for the example of rabbit, right? So we can just think of this class as a sketch of a rabbit which has several labels. So what are the details about that rabbit? So details are name, color, size. So these are the details, correct? So based on the description which we have for this rabbit, we can study about that rabbit. So that is only called as a class. So if you just understand this thing in the terms of the programming language, in terms of programming, if you just understand the definition for a class. So definition for a class is a blueprint for the object, right? Now basically what does this actually means? That we'll be seeing in the next video when we will be writing a program for the class. Now what is the syntax, what is the structure, that I would be discussing in the next video. So here I just discussed that firstly what is an object oriented programming, right? Then I have discussed about the example, and then I have discussed about the class, that what is a class. So just keep this definition in your mind that a class is a blueprint for the object, right? So I hope I just made this thing very clear to you that what is a class and basically what is object oriented programming. Now from the next videos we will see all the all the practicals in the PyCharm IDE. So this is all for this video. Till then, thank you and take care.